Welcome to the Growler, a Who Dey podcast hosted by Paul Dana and other bald friends like Mo Egger, Dave Nenemetz, home of all your Bengals breaks, takes. Welcome to the Growler.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Balds Don't Lie. Paul Dana Jr. here with you on a Wednesday, and I am here with my fellow bald brethren, Mo Egger of ESPN 1530. What's going on?
How we doing? What's going on? How's the Al Golden search going? How's that? How's the hunt for Al Golden?
He's not a hard one to hunt.
No,
he's right there. Yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
I think that I'm happy when it wraps up.
Mm-hmm.
We should go ahead and just be done with this already. Like the
Sure.
foregone conclusion of the last week plus. It's a little unnecessary. But hey, not bitter about it at all. It's all good.
I
It's all
understand.
good. Let's do it. Well, I'm glad to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit more about Al Golden.
Oh,
I think, I've seen a little bit of people bemoaning the process and where it landed. So I want to get to that with you in a minute. I want us to kind of dive into that a little bit deeper, but we can touch on a few other pieces of news before we get to that. I want to talk a little bit about, there's a new offensive line coach who is intense.
oh yeah.
Yeah, he is. So we'll get to him. A couple of things I want to talk about. Vague tweet season. We have a Super Bowl ref that is going to make me play music on this podcast. A big offseason transaction has occurred. The Super Bowl is one weekend away. We can talk a little bit about that. And guess what's next week, Mo? Next week.
Senior Bowl?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's not what I was going to say, though.
Okay. All right.
Next week is mock offseason.
Oh, yes!
Spreadsheet.
Let's go!
The
only time all year long I open up Excel. Great.
Yeah. I'm here for you. Did you know? I need to talk to Jay about this.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Excel World Championships they held in Las Vegas, like the Super Bowl of Excel. All these people come in and see who can solve an Excel formula situation fastest, and they play like intro music, and they come in. They've got there's a belt. It's like a whole thing. Yeah, and I was like, how is Jay not in this?
That's incredible. I just this year learned how to take an Excel spreadsheet and turn it into a PDF.
Oh, wow.
Because this place that I was doing some writing for, they needed me to invoice them so they could pay me 4 months late, and they needed a PDF. And so I had to go on the internet and read, how do you make a PDF? And I mean, it was like taking a computer science class when I was in the 7th grade. I'm like, man, I'm in my mid 40s. What am I doing? How do I not know how to do? But I figured it out. I learned how to make a PDF.
Yeah, that's when I just text Jay. I'm like, hey, how do I do this on Excel? How do I fix it's I've been working behind the scenes on this thing. It's so taxing, like literally it feels like doing your taxes every single day for like over a week between trying to come up with the values. This is a particularly complicated year for it. We've got all the cuts, we've got potential restructure. What would an extension to Jamar do to the cap? What is a T contract going to look like? The Trey Hendrickson options. Every position on defense requires a decision except for Logan Wilson, basically. Like, it is just one of the hardest years I've ever had trying to put it together, but it is nearing completion. And next week we will talk about it. I will make you do it. You will get very frustrated.
Can I ask one question really quick? And I know that's not what we're here to talk about, but when you do this, how do you account for a possible Joe Burrow restructure?
I put it, you really don't you just know that the number that you're trying to get to could change if Burrow decides to change it.
Gotcha.
Right? Overall cap number, which, I have them starting at the real money number this year of, I think I have it at 32. A lot can be added with them cutting some dead weight this year. Is just like malleable. It could move. If Burrow wants to move it, he could probably move that number because this is 46. So they could find a way to move his number around and change it if that was something that they wanted to do. So that's kind of the only way you can really account for it. You really can't. You really can't. They can make it. It's sort of like other teams already know. You can kind of make it whatever you want to make it. The
Right.
reason this exercise has worked here is because the Bengals don't make it anything other than what it is on its face, and so that's why it's always worked. And so maybe it's changing in that regard. But we'll get to that next week.
Can't wait. Yes.
Let's start with the offensive line coach, Scott Peters. They hired. He has a Bill Callahan background. He was Bill Callahan's right-hand man for 3 years in Cleveland, then was hired by the Patriots, was the Patriots offensive line coach this past year, his first time sort of running a room. He was given the least amount of talent in the entire NFL, maybe in any position. Michael Jordan was starting games for them. Ben Brown of former Bengals UDFA fame was starting a ton of games for them. Like that, not really unfair, honestly. He has an MMA background.
Mm-hmm.
He is not going to have the title of run game coordinator. Do any of these facts matter to you? Do you have any thoughts about Scott Peters as Bengals offensive line coach?
I don't have any thoughts about Scott Peters because up until Monday morning, I had no idea he even existed. So I guess it's kind of cool that he has his offensive lineman doing jujitsu. Is that the MMA discipline that we're talking about here?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting. I guess my thought is if you're an offensive line coach, you obviously are tasked with doing what hasn't been done with the Bengals in a decade, and that's build an elite offensive line. Like that's been my thing for a while now is I want to watch Joe Burrow play behind an offensive line that is legitimately among the best quarter of the offensive lines in the league, the top quadrant, right? Among the best 8 offensive lines in the league. What would that look like? It would be awesome. But I think this is something you and I talked about. He's not starting from scratch. Like as new offensive line coaches go, this is okay. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, but they have prioritized the offensive line in the draft. And so if I'm a new offensive line coach, I'm going, all right, how serious is this organization's commitment to offensive linemen? Well, they draft them. They took one last year. And by the way, the guy they took, I think everybody's really on board with. And so if I'm Scott Peters, I go, all right, right tackle, check. Not that I can't assist in the continuing development of Amarius Mims, but boy, that's a really nice piece of clay to mold, so to speak. That's pretty good. And left tackle, check. All right, we're good there. So my to-do list isn't as long as it would be if I was moving to a place where they blew out the offensive line coach and had to overhaul the whole thing. So I think he's actually operating from a pretty enviable position. He's going to have Ted Karras playing for him. I mean, it's basically, can he fix the guards? And my guess is he's going to get some degree of front office help, either with them acquiring a free agent or drafting reasonably early, and them also having camp competition with Cody Ford. Like as frustrated as we have all been with the offensive line, and as much as it has to play better, and as much as they did play with fire this year, this isn't 2021 where you walked away from the Super Bowl and you're like, where the hell do you begin besides Jonah Williams? That's not that. So I guess in any new endeavor, any new job, you're going, okay, can I have success here? Can I have immediate success? And I think with Scott Peters, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to give you, pick a free agent, find a free agent guard that you like. That's going to be important. The evaluation, understanding how whoever it is going to fit in your system. You're going to be tasked with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to have to understand how somebody can come in and fit, what those traits look like, and make it work in your system with a free agent. You're going to have to be playing a major front and center role in selecting a premium draft pick at guard as well. If you can do that and then mold those guys in, it's very easy to be one of the best that we've seen in front of Joe Burrow. Now, that's a big if. I mean, who knows? Because there's not like there's a long history of them, hitting on draft picks, particularly those that aren't in the top 20. So, and maybe they do use a first round pick on a guard, whatever. I mean, that's not the discussion I'm trying to make. But the point is that you're going to have a bunch. At some point, there's going to need to be some development, and at some point, there's going to be a need to do some evaluation of exactly the type of player that you need and want, and what that looks like from a professional standpoint. So I think that's going to be the most critical thing. And from there, do jujitsu or whatever hand technique you want to talk about. Like, I know people are like, let's talk about his teaching of this technique or what. Like,
who is asking?
You
who
know,
is
this is
saying
not the
that?
podcast. For
yeah,
that.
no.
Like, we're
No.
not here to do that. I trust that every offensive line coach, even the bad ones, Frank Pollock to Jim Turner, had lots of techniques. Okay.
Yeah,
Most of them involve making players want to retire, but he had lots of techniques. Okay. Everybody has intensity and techniques, and they care about development and whatever. Like, we'll see you in September on that one. All right. Like, let's see what it looks like then. But you do have to pinpoint the right guys. In the meantime, I have a very good chance for it to work quickly.
It's not apples to apples, but which of the two major offseason coaching hires has the best chance for immediate success? Scott Peters or Al Golden? Now, with Al Golden, we're looking to build a league average defense. So maybe that ceiling is so low that he can have immediate success. But like, Al Golden has his work cut out for him. He does. Now, they have resources, and Trey Hendrickson's here. That's a really good piece to build around, but he has his work cut out for him. I don't feel that way about Scott Peters. I feel like if he's competent and they have a productive offseason and Amarius Mims continues to ascend and Ted Karras can continue to play at a pretty high level, which I feel like he was almost underrated this year, given the fact that he was bookended by guys who were just not very good. Like, I feel like Scott Peters has a chance to have the sort of success that by the end of the season, you're going to go, you know what? Good offensive line coach hire. And maybe we'll say the same thing about Al Golden, and again, it's not apples to apples, but the two undertakings I think are different, where I look at Scott and I go, he's set up for a chance to have some success. Al Golden, ask me by early May, and maybe I'll have a different answer, but he does have his work cut out for him.
The two most important things for an offensive line are your two tackles right now. Like, and you've got both of them at really high levels, young, veteran, high level guys. At your two most important things for defense, you need a stud pass rusher. They got one of those. He's here for 1 year, and you need a star corner. Well, we saw how much pass rush you get when you have one guy. So they don't have that. They don't have a pass rush. And that's hard to find, hard to draft, hard to pay for in free agency. And star corners the same way. They're hard to draft. They're hard to pay for in free agency. It is a much steeper climb for Al Golden than it will be for Scott Peters. I don't think it's remotely close.
Right. So that's sort of the lens through which I look at Scott Peters. Okay, what's his resume? Fine. Certainly seems like not a crazy outside the box hire. He has been an offensive line coach. Yeah. He comes with the Bill Callahan stamp of approval, which matters. I know it matters a lot to Zach Taylor, and he's got a lot of work to do, but the task is not that impossible. I don't think it's impossible to envision a scenario where by the end of the season, we look at the Bengals offensive line and go, that's the best they've had in a decade.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the team is going to be markedly better, but if it is, I bet the team is markedly better.
Yeah. And I think a new voice will help in that room. I think if when you talk to players and those inside the building there, you heard that a part of Frank being gone was just a new voice is needed. It was wearing on everybody. Offensive line coaches with their intensity, Mo.
Yeah,
that they wear on people.
Short shelf life.
You got the intense yelly boss. Man, it's certainly refreshing when even if it's a different yelly boss. Like, at least it's not that voice again when it's been multiple years. Like, it helps people. And I think that there was a feeling inside of that room that there was a need for change, and that alone can be refreshing for people. The same way that Frank Pollock, I think, was originally refreshing.
Sure.
Coming off of Jim Turner. And that's always going to be part of it. And so we'll see what happens there. I want to kind of start in on the Al Golden discussion. Of course, this isn't official yet. I think he's supposed to kind of interview that whatever the 2 minutes he walks into the room and you're like, hey, this is the official interview. Yeah. And then there will be.
What was your corner doing against Jeremiah Smith? That would be my interview.
Yeah.
Like, what was your on that game sealing play? What was your corner doing there? Is he going to do that here?
Is he going to do that here?
We're going to be doing that here. George Pickens is going down the sideline. Is that our okay? That's not our thing. Cool. We're good. Let's go to lunch.
Yeah, let's go to lunch. Right. Although, you know what? I say, look, I'm going to make Will Howard make a tough throw, right? Like,
Sure.
I'll say that.
Sure.
If that's what it's about, I'm just going to
Sure.
light him up and say, if Will Howard can throw the ball correctly that far down the field, if that's what you want to do,
Tip your cap.
then we'll tip the cap and say that's the way that we chose to try to get the ball back. I mean,
Mhm.
if that thing falls incomplete, you save the timeout. And there you are. They're getting the ball a chance to come back. I'm not here to break down Notre Dame versus Ohio State, but I'm just saying you could see that. You
Sure.
could see that. Jeremiah Smith, very good, turns out.
He's okay.
Here's the part of the Al Gold. I think we've talked enough about him here, but I want to start with this. Are you okay with the process? This is the thing that I've heard the most about this was people didn't like the process. It felt like a foregone conclusion, right? Like before this thing even started, that clearly this is where they were going to land because of familiarity, and you knew who he is, and he's just hiring his buddies and all of this stuff like that. I've seen that and frustration with that. Do you feel like you were okay with the process that has landed here with Al Golden?
100%.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you look, time will tell obviously if Al Golden is the right guy. It's been a long time since I've been in a position where I had to hire anybody, but when I was back in the day, oftentimes if I had an opening, I kind of knew who I wanted it to be. Now, I was open-minded. We'll cast a net and see if there's somebody who wows me, but I've got to think in football and in real life, like if you have an opening and you're aware of who the candidates are, or you're going to have an opening, maybe you have that opening because you know what, I can get that guy, and this guy is just going to be, for lack of a better term, better. So that doesn't bother me. Like the people who say, well, this process, it was a foregone conclusion. Who do you think are those folks mad that it's not Robert Saleh?
Yeah.
I mean,
is that what it is? Yeah.
I don't know. Let's say it is. Let's say Robert Saleh was the guy all along. Would we be complaining then that it was a foregone conclusion? Like is the gripe about it, well, it was a foregone conclusion, just a gripe about, well, they didn't hire the guy that I wanted, or the big name that I wanted, or the splashy hire that I wanted. Look, people like familiarity. The Bengals really like familiarity. Zach Taylor has an intimate knowledge of how good a football coach Al Golden is. I'm going to defer to him here. Look, they've had good assistants.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had, it wasn't that long ago that Lou Anarumo was going to be a head coach somewhere. And, Brian Callahan is a head coach. And I think, you have talked about this. I think everybody expects Dan Pitcher to be in that round of discussions here very, very soon. So, I know Zach Taylor, a lot of people don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I will here with a guy that he knows, with a guy that he has familiarity with, and we'll see if it works. But I think oftentimes if there's an opening, foregone conclusions may be a little bit strong, but hey, we're going to have this opening. And if I have my way, that's the guy that I want. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So that doesn't bother me at all, especially because Al Golden isn't some like outside the box, weird, hot, like he was with the staff prior. He was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. And you mentioned this to me yesterday, which I think is really worth considering. Like I said this on my show last week, if the issue is they have to do a better job of coaching up younger players, then it might make sense to look at the college ranks. But the line between college and pro football almost doesn't exist.
Yep.
In terms of how the sports work and also schematically. If you watch college football, if you watch college football defenses, are you seeing things that NFL teams can or don't do? I don't. I do offensively still, but defensively, teams are playing a 4-3 with man in the back, and they're playing 4-3 with zone in the back, and they're sending you can copy and paste those schemes and apply it to the NFL. So with the line having been as blurred as ever between college and pro football, if the stigma is, well, he's a college guy, maybe that would apply 5 years ago. I think that applies less than it ever has.
Simplify things for the people underneath you, right? And you become a master of that the younger your players are. And that doesn't mean that the schemes can't be complicated or whatever. But what did we talk about this past season, the last 5 weeks of the season? Simplified everything. You said, hey,
Yeah.
just simplify it for all these younger guys, whatever. And that's what defense in the NFL tends to be, the successful ones anymore. It's guys that are just playing fast and playing confident. Go get a bunch of athletes, a bunch of young, fast, smart players, and have them go play quick and confidently.
Mhm.
And when the Bengals did that, even with a defense that was a total train wreck for the majority of the season, they were adequate. Right.
Yeah.
And you can be better than adequate, but the bar right now is just, can you get it to adequate? And so start there. And I think Al Golden has proven that he can do that. The guy had the number one passing defense each of the last 2 years in college football. Okay. That matters, man. Like, and it's not like he can't hang in the NFL. We saw he did a great job as a linebackers coach here. He took on extra responsibility. He obviously won over the trust of Zach Taylor to the point that he knows immediately that this was the call he wanted to make. I don't have any problem with that. And it's not like they didn't entertain the idea of some of these bigger names. It's that really needed to wow them more than they felt like the value was in the level they were getting and the level of familiarity and kind of hitting the ground running they were getting with Al Golden here. Dennis Allen, it appears, was kind of attached to Ben Johnson potentially this entire time. They have a previous existing relationship. There was obviously a recognition how perfect he would be for a young head coach, sort of like we talked about when Zach Taylor first came here. Everybody, and Sean McVay followed this model. We've seen this happen over and over again. Kevin O'Connell's kind of done this in Minnesota with Brian Flores. You see that having that experienced defensive coordinator, it sounds like that was kind of attached. I always thought Dennis made the most sense from a connection perspective. Saleh comes from a very different world, like of teaching and of intensity, and like the whole San Francisco thing has never been something that I think resonated here with the way things operate in Cincinnati. So that kind of never made sense to me. But I mean, there's some of the bigger names. They brought in Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham really impressed in interviews. And I think was a real consideration, but at the end of the day, didn't overtake what they feel like they were already getting from somebody who just coached up one of the best defenses in college football for multiple seasons.
I guess I ask myself this: if Al Golden decided, I'm leaving Notre Dame because I want to coordinate a defense in the NFL, here I am. A lot of teams would have talked to him, right?
Yeah.
So would one of them have hired him? I don't know, but I you might say foregone conclusion, but not. They didn't hire somebody who has no bona fides, who hasn't been there before. He's coming from a major program. He's, again, college and pro football have never been more alike. The prevailing issue with this defense has been getting a lot out of young guys fresh out of college. I'm not certainly going to guarantee anybody that it's going to work, but when you printed out your list or published your list of, the names that were, most likely to be at least under consideration, when it got to Al Golden, I nodded my head and go, yeah, okay. And so whatever process got him there, yeah, okay. Now, go upgrade the personnel and we'll see if that meshing with a new defensive coordinator yields better results. But I don't have any issue with this. I don't have any issue with the hire. I don't have any issue with the process that got us there. What I have issue with is I've already burned all my Al Golden jokes based on his sideline attire when he was coaching at Temple and at Miami. Like I referred to him as he looks like he's a night manager at Wendy's and a drugstore clerk. I mean, so I probably have burned through those way too early. Man hasn't even been officially hired yet. And so that kind of bothers me a little bit. I've got to come up with a new shtick. I tried out some lines on you yesterday on my show talking about how Al Golden sounds like the name of a butcher. Like, oh, we get our meat at Al Golden's. Replace pulls dents out of your car. Al Golden's. Oh yeah, Al Golden's. Go to Al Golden's there on Work Road. They'll take care of you. They'll pull that dent out. So I'm gonna have to come up with new ways to just make fun of it and make fun of him. But beyond that, I have no issue with this whatsoever.
Yeah, Al Golden's very close to Van Loonen's, which was close to my heart growing up. You know what I mean? It's kind of got that same feel. Might pop over to All About Sports afterwards. Not sure.
Right.
But just just got to pick up a couple of things. You're going to hop right down to Al Golden's.
All About Sports. So swing by Al Golden's and then go to All About Sports and play putt-putt on the putting green there on the front.
That's it.
Yeah. Right.
That's what you did. That's what you did.
Yeah. So I might do a poll question like, what is Al Golden's apostrophe S, of course. What is that? Does it sound like a bar? Like it sounds like the sort of place that has an early bird special, right? Yeah. Like we're gonna go over to Al Golden's. Mom really likes the early bird special at Al. They got a buffet before 6 at Al Golden's.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm with that, and I also do think he should bring back the tie on the
100%.
Like signature move. I love that. Bring it back. Be true to yourself. Go back to your roots. I think you go tie on the sideline. You have, you've got like the stripe. You can have some orange and black stripes. Maybe you could be like the weatherman, our guy Steve Horsemeyer over at Fox 19. He always has a themed tie for whatever the weather is. He wears his sun tie. He's got his rain or snow tie. And you kind of know what the forecast is going to be. Maybe he could get a tie that says, "I'm going to blitz a lot tonight," right? That's like kind of foreshadows what he's thinking about each game.
He when he was at Miami, he would wear an orange tie because that's the school color. Now the NFL has different rules, right? You have to wear like the official gear. So if I recall, when Mike Nolan was coaching the 49ers, he had to petition the league to be allowed to wear a suit on the sideline for 2 games because he wanted to pay homage to his dad. So I don't know what they do there, but yeah. And then if like Al Golden ended up being like really popular, there'd be a lot of fans in the stands dressed like Al Golden, looking like they were shoe salesman. And sign me up for that.
Absolutely. I'm here for all of it. Here's my question to you.
Are you on your way to Florsheim? No, I'm going to the Bengals game. Like, that'd be a lot of fun.
Here's my question to you. Lou Anarumo hired as the defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts, seemingly, so he doesn't have to pay as much to his moving company, just going right up the highway, which is nice for him.
Yeah.
Who lasts longer? Lou Anarumo or Al Golden?
Oh, Al Golden.
Yeah.
Al Golden feels like, I mean, it's the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
So if we now, you're going to go, well, Zach Taylor's on the hot seat too. I still feel like the 2 head coaches who are, if you look at Shane Steichen and Zach Taylor, who's on the most firm footing at Zach, right?
Yeah.
Because Zach has Joe Burrow. So Lou Anarumo attaches himself to a head coach. I don't know how they feel about Shane Steichen in Indianapolis. I do know the man's like 7.5 feet tall. That's a large man. Like if you ever watched him on the cold sideline, he looks like Big Bird. But it kind of, if I were to wager on who's the head coach of their team in 2026, I would say Zach. And so then if it's not Shane Steichen, are they blowing out the entire coaching staff? So I'll say Al Golden, but I am. Which Bengals fan isn't rooting for Lou Anarumo to have success in Indy? I know I am.
And when Jim Irsay's there's at least a 2% chance that he's replaced with Booger McFarland in week 10. Yeah, I mean, it's like you just don't know what's going to happen next, So there's always the wild card there, where there's a little less wild carding happening in Cincinnati right now. Can I drop a couple news items by you and we can get you out of here?
Yeah. Cam Grandy?
Obviously, I was going to say, obviously the biggest. I was going to save the biggest for last. What do you think about Ron Torbert being the referee of the Super Bowl?
So Ron Torbert was the referee in the Bengals-Rams Super Bowl, wasn't he?
Yep, and in the AFC Championship game with the extra down and a number of different situations. Hold on, we have our evil Ron Torbert music. I got to play it here. Ron Torbert. Sorry.
So
I'm legally obligated to play that music.
Are the Chiefs going to be in the Super Bowl, do we think?
Boy, if they are, it's
then
going
just
to be
engrave the damn trophy, I guess. Just go ahead and engrave the Lombardi trophy now. Print the T-shirts, right?
Print the shirt. Yep. I mean, I feel like this guy. I don't like. I've watched a lot of Ron Torbert refereed games, and I don't understand how he's at the top of the list. Like I don't
either.
I've never quite understood how this is the guy that you consistently want refereeing your biggest games. Like I see more mistakes when he's the guy going into it. It's like it's like in baseball. If Angel Hernandez was just constantly the guy in the World Series, like, how did we end up in this place? Why was this decision?
Completely fair question. But here's what I want to know. Okay. So we know more about, Jay talks about this and writes about this every week. We know more about officials than we ever have. We know what every team's record is with a certain officiating crew. Like we know. Who are the good officials? Like, who's the referee that you're like, you know what, if that guy's crew is on the game, we're going to get a fairly officiated, even game. There's going to be, like, who are the good officials?
Sean Hockley gets
Sean
a lot
Hockley's
of good reviews.
Good. Okay, people like him.
Yeah, I think he's a good one. I think
I feel like the good ones are all on TV now. Like, everybody was on board Gene Steratore, and then he's like, wait a minute, I can get paid more money to sit in the booth and talk about the officials than I was being on the field and being an official ball game. I'm going to go up and I can do basketball too. Awesome. Like, I feel like the good officials now just bounce the TV. Is that fair?
That is fair. That is fair. That's why do you think Dean Blandino's the guy at Fox, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, this job of being the guy responsible for all these bad calls is pound sand. What a terrible idea that is. I don't want anything to do with that. What do you think about Cam Grandy being back?
I don't.
Are you? What's been your favorite Cam Grandy moment thus far? Was it the three? Which of the three penalties or what do you like? That time where we show him in slow motion, like moving the line when he pulls across, or one of his 6 starts?
So I went to a game this year and I didn't sit in my normal seats. I sat with somebody, a coworker of mine, a friend of mine, and I sat in his seats. And so I don't know if it was the Bengals' first offensive play, but this guy is a diehard fan, hardcore fan, one of the biggest fans I know. And number 85 comes jogging onto the field, and he says to me, "Who is number 85?" And I actually had to look it up.
I mean,
I tried to play it off, like looking at my phone, and I'm like, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to find out who 85 is, man. I'm sorry." That's Cam Grandy. Cam Grandy.
Yeah,
so
he's here.
I was surprised to learn that he had 5 catches. I hope he has 5 more at least this coming season. But like, these are the sort of guys that are fun. They're what make the NFL fun, right? Guys that just show up on your roster. They're undrafted free agents. They make the team. They stick for a season, and now the team is like, cool, we're going to give them another shot this year. Like, there are stories like that around the league that I think make the league interesting and make it fun. And so, good for Cam. I mean, that's, if you would have said that, him when he was signed by the Bengals was it Illinois State?
I think so. Yeah.
Hey man, you're gonna stick. You're gonna get through the entire year, and then they're gonna bring you back. I guess that obviously doesn't come with a guarantee that he makes the team. Hell yeah! So good for him, man. I think those stories, we're making fun of it and whatever, but like I do think those stories which happen around the NFL are really cool. So good for him, man. That's a really that's fun. That's awesome. And I'm even though I don't know Cam Grandy, I'm happy for him.
Something I saw gain a minor amount of steam that made me laugh online. I don't even know if it was real or just a joke that made its way around, but just the fact that I saw people talking about it made me laugh. What do you think about Vontaze Burfict for linebackers coach? You in?
What is Vontaze doing nowadays?
Don't know.
So the guy who was basically kicked out of the league, because he didn't play by the rules, we want him teaching players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and pretty much the first move made organizationally here was like,
I am years away. I'm years away from my daughter being able to learn how to drive. But when I pick a driving school, I'm not going to send her to the person that has like 4 wrecks on their record. I drove into a pole and I hit a fire hydrant. I rear-ended a guy. But I'll teach her daughter how to drive. Like, would you do? So I don't know it. What is Vontaze? Do we know it? Is Vontaze around?
I think he's around. I mean, not here, not around Cincinnati, but I think he's around. Maybe his face is starting to show up. I didn't know why it caught steam, why I saw it. and why all of a sudden people were like, what about Vontez Perfect for linebackers coach? But I just thought, man, I thought I'd heard every bad idea. And
do you want, I mean, like if you are, hey, you know what? I mean, first of all, as a talk show host, like, yes, let's go.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I mean, I put on social media this weekend, my favorite team after the Bengals is chaos and content. So that would check those boxes. So you sign me up, but who birthed that idea? Like where was that seed planted? Was somebody just
I think the seed, well, as you might imagine, it showed up on the internet. I think, did he show up with? Oh, he showed up with John Gruden.
Okay.
So whatever John Gruden was doing, he has him on. He must have had him on his Barstool channel.
Okay,
that's what it was.
All right.
Linebacker 101, John Gruden and Vontez Perfect.
Look, Vontez was a heck of a player when he chose to play football. Unfortunately, we often watch him choose not to play football. So, no, I have next to no interest in Vontez Perfect being anywhere around the Bengals, much less as a coach.
Yeah, he had a lot of thoughts on coaching linebackers, apparently. So that's good for him.
So this is how we're evaluating who should be the coaches, the ones that go on Barstool and talk about the position they played. That's
where we're at. That's where we're at. Okay, welcome. I'll say that. Let's do this. Super Bowl pick. Who do you got coming out this weekend?
Washington.
Best storyline going.
Best storyline going. Hurts is hobbled. Jaden Daniels is awesome. Sort of that house money, kind of lay it all out there, feel to it on the road. Like I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them because I hate Daniel Snyder. And so, I mean, look, a bad day for Daniel Snyder is better than a good day for most people, but still. And then let's be honest, Kansas City Buffalo feels like a coin flip, but I have thought for most of the season, at some point, the Chiefs' unevenness offensively is going to catch up to them. This is the time. I say Buffalo goes on the road and does it with all of America rooting for them. But I'm rooting for Washington and nothing against Philly. You know, Saquon Barkley is awesome, and but I'm hoping for, and I'm picking a Buffalo Washington Super Bowl, which is what we got when I was 14 years old.
Mark Rypien, most requested on Radio Row. You know, if that happens, gotta be. You gotta feel like he's gonna maybe Ernest Biner makes the rounds.
Yeah,
I'm not totally sure.
Daryl Green was still with the at the time the Redskins then, wasn't he?
I mean, Art Monk's around.
Art Monk,
Art Monk had 7 for 113. Gary Clark had 7
Joe
for 114.
Theismann will be on every podcast, radio show. I mean, like if you're like, man, I need someone to talk about the Washington Commanders. Like if you just say those words, you'll get an email. Joe Theismann's available.
Yep.
Like he will be everywhere.
Don Beebe will be making appearances.
Yeah, you get
I feel really good. Pete Metzelaars is on from 3 to 4, right?
Sure.
We'll have all, So there's
Herman
lots
Thomas
of
will come on to talk about losing his helmet, and
you could do all of it. You could do all of it.
Obviously, as Bengals fans, we're supposed to root against the Chiefs, and so I'm rooting for Buffalo. But like the Bills and Bengals are among the franchises that are sort of like associated with heartbreak, and there are a lot of comparisons. Are we rooting for the Bills to check off that box that the Bengals haven't yet checked? If you're a Bengals fan, are you like, because everybody was doing that with Detroit, like, well, they're the NFC Bengals. Like, they are, but I mean, do you really want to watch your peer have more success than you? I don't know. I don't know.
I think you're okay with it. I think it's okay to root for a good story. Like it's okay to root for a city to get the feeling that you want to have too. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
Why does everyone have to be mired in sadness and anger?
I think I will be rooting for him. And then like when there was that game in Buffalo in 2015 I went to, the fans were awesome. Like, I mean, as much as people talk like, oh, the Bills Mafia and they're jumping through tables, like fans could not have been the night before and during the game could not have been more accommodating, friendlier. I think I met a lot of really nice people. So I think I would root for I'm going to root for my bets, but I'm going to root for emotionally. I'm rooting for the Bills, but let's say Kansas City wins on Sunday, the chaos that will unfold as a result of the worst Chiefs team of this run getting back to the Super Bowl, especially if there's some sort of officiating blunder,
which is always going to be a part of every game.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. There it is.
Really,
it almost feels inevitable, doesn't it?
Yeah. Are you going to go cover the Pro Bowl games next weekend with
that's negative?
Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase?
Not going to. I mean, I have nothing wrong with going to Orlando. That's fine with me. No Pro Bowl games.
Are those guys going to participate in the Pro Bowl? Was it flag football?
I have heard that they are going to participate.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've talked to anybody about that, but I was under the assumption they were going to. Yes. So good for them. Before you leave, I want to make sure we get you an update on our guy on Toe Egger, who we brought up last week, the parody account. This was last week. We criticized Toe.
Toe is following me now. I did appreciate
Toe
that.
is following you now.
Yeah.
And Toe was up to 56 followers last that I saw. So shout out to those that were inspired by our conversation and went and followed Toe Egger. He did send out one more tweet. Since then, he tweeted on January 16th. Great footwork by the Bearcats last night. UC was hand over foot better than the Buffs. A good step toward making the tournament, which I liked. I thought it was actually well contrived by Toe. I appreciated it. So shout out to him. He's now following 13 people and has 56 followers. Let's get that up at Toe Egger, TOEEGGER. Make sure you're following.
I hadn't been following him, and now I am. I like Toe. What I hope that can happen one day is like, so there it might still be. There was a fake Lance McAllister for a while.
Yeah.
And the guy wasn't malicious. And again, like I said this to you guys maybe last week. I have blocked probably less than 12 people. Like, if you're not malicious, I don't care. Like malice, I have no room for. And you know, the basics like racism, homophobia, stuff like that, I'll block you. But like this is so the fake Lance McAllister came up to me once and like introduced himself to me. And again, he was like fake Lance, but he wasn't malicious. He wasn't a jerk about it. He was just, you know, kind of parodying Lance. I love that. So now it's one of my goals to encounter face to face Toe Egger. I don't know how you verify that.
No, I don't either.
Like anybody can come up and go, "Hey, I'm the guy behind Toe Egger." But I'm hopeful that there could be a meeting and maybe an appearance on this podcast or my show or whatever. It'd be fun.
If you are Toe Egger and you're listening to this right now, the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. Send me a message and we'd love to arrange a meeting.
Absolutely.
You know, after a background check, of course, but we could arrange. I think we could arrange a meeting. I think.
Yeah. Let's. You know, we're not going to do an in-studio visit without some sort of.
No, there might be some security involved.
We
can do it. I feel like we'd like to make that happen. I think it would be worthwhile for everybody. All right, Mo, appreciate it. Thanks for dropping in. Good times as always. And I guess I will be talking to you next week.
I can't
ESPN
wait.
1530, right?
Tuesday.
I love being back in studio. By the way, it feels like home base. It feels comfortable.
Sure. Yeah.
I enjoy. I get to make my Dunkin' Donuts run before I come in, which is very, very much helps me feel like I'm on point with you. And I appreciate it.
You better, because we've run out of cups at the radio station. So if you don't bring your own, you're screwed. It's BYOB.
Well, would you like me to see if Dunkin' Donuts could give me like a sleeve?
That'd be great.
It would be. Can we maybe make that happen? I'm in there enough. I feel like they can hook me up. Just trying to help out. I just want to contribute. You know, just want to contribute.
Let's see what you can
maybe
do.
They'll start letting me in without having to wait for somebody at the door. All right.
Key card access.
Maybe. I don't think so. No, let's not get crazy. All right. Bye, Mo.
See you, man. Thanks.
Have a good one, everybody.
Yep.